too, and that's why I wanted to turn it on.
And then I did look at the fair housing ordinance because it's like 9 million pages long, so.
It's all statutory though, right? Grab that
The
from,
microsil, I don't know what, I can't remember exactly.
grab that from the station.
It's the same one.
No.
Well, the other one.
Because they need to match,
It follows.
because we were like
That was
missing
ridiculous.
whatever we had to have.
Yeah, well, because it's changed
Yeah,
and it got updated, and when it gets updated, then
yeah,
we don't update based on the statute,
Yeah.
then we're not
The
defined.
folks don't.
so it was just easier to like, here's this window, just take it, instead of having, you know, be like, what am I missing, bring it up, and blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah.
I took a look at it, it seemed like it was fine, as long as they follow, and I'm sure they follow the whole state statute, I didn't.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah,
She should get paid.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
check.
thank you. Hey, let me sit down, please.
That's Republican.
Yeah.
Maine of Walnut. They got rid of 3. That was repaid less than 5 years ago.
So,
Yeah.
so
That was, they were paying that when you started.
ordinance that never finishes.
Maybe it was a year before that. They got rid of 3.
They actually have a thing, put on the front of the truck that grades it.
Really?
Yeah, they don't do it themselves. They got this thing and put on the truck. It's some kind of software program that does that. So I thought, oh, maybe I need to look at it closer, maybe that's that alligator. Can't go around, I'm not close to that. I thought it was a pretty good shape. I wouldn't have thought this was the worst street in town, maybe.
I thought it was 3. 6 or something like that. You know, I forgot it for a while. Appreciate it.
Is Stoops open for business?
No.
I've been seeing some trucks parked back there and an RV and.
Yeah, then there's a man, must be right, it's not open, they don't have anything going inside yet.
They have like, I assume they have like offices in
Trying
there.
to think out what, it might have been 23.3, but
Where's the main door?
I guess it could.
Okay,
On the north side.
the November 2nd special meeting of the Dayton Town Council will come to order. We'll take a roll call. Ashley?
Here.
Stan?
Here.
Ron?
Here.
Carla? And I'm here, so all 5 council members are present. Second on the agenda is the executive session decision. We actually don't have anything on that, so we'll move on to agenda item number 3, the fair housing policy. So this is just, our fair housing policy was out of date, and the grant that we're applying for Okra, we have to have this up to date, so this is just for that. And unfortunately, Michelle couldn't make it. I don't know what our ordinance numbers are gonna be. I might be able to find it.
So this is just to put into place, or we had something in place and this is replacing or updating?
Completely replacing.
So we would repeal the original fair housing ordinance,
That we already have?
yes, so we
Okay.
replaced it with this one. And that one's just outdated because the state statute has been revised.
Do I need that number to move to
Or you
repeal
can put
that?
it in.
So do we need to repeal that one before we,
I would probably repeal it first, or you can do it all together. We're gonna, a motion to repeal
Okay.
ordinance number, whatever it was, and replace it with ordinance number, whatever.
but for this, do we need, is it the same as the other ones where we have to wait for full reading of the ordinance and get it all done? Okay. I would move to repeal our previous fair housing policy for the town of Dayton because it's outdated.
Second it.
Okay, there's been a motion made by myself and seconded by Stan to repeal our outdated fair housing policy. Is there any discussion? Okay, how do you vote, Ashley?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
And I vote yes, so that's repealed 5-0. Okay, I would move to waive formal reading of ordinance number 2021 dash, whatever ordinance number this will be, an ordinance to codify fair housing policy.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion made by myself and seconded by Carla to waive formal reading of this ordinance. Is there any discussion? Okay, how do you vote, Ashley?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
And I vote yes, so formal reading is waived. I move to adopt on first reading an ordinance 2021 dash, whatever, an ordinance to codify our fair housing policy.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion made to adopt on first reading this new fair housing policy. It was made by myself and seconded by Stan. Is there any discussion? Okay, how do you vote, Ashley?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
And I vote yes, so we'll adopt it on first reading. So I move to adopt ordinance 2021 dash, whatever ordinance number this will be, an ordinance to codify our fair housing policy.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion made by myself and seconded by Stan to adopt this. Is there any further discussion? How do you vote, Ashley?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
And I vote yes, so that's adopted 5-0. All right, next on the agenda is our 2021 non-elected official salary ordinance. We just needed to update this so that we had enough appropriated for Reed. And then at the end, we also added the amount of $2,500 shall be appropriated for the fourth quarter of 2021 for the firm of Ryan Moore, Coke Triplett, and Albertson LLP for our new attorney in case we would need to pay any invoices this year. And since this is just an amendment, I don't remember what motions do we need to.
To pass it, you just need to make a motion to amend the ordinance.
Okay. I would move to amend ordinance 2021-6, salary and compensation for non-elected employees for 2021.
Second.
There's been a motion made by myself and seconded by Carla to approve this amendment. Is there any discussion? Okay. How do you vote, Ashley?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
And I vote yes, so that's 5-0. All right. 2022 non-elected official salary ordinance discussion. There were some things on this that we talked about changing at our last meeting. Scott, do you want to say anything?
Do you want me to go through what I proposed
If
again?
you want to.
I had proposed increasing our crossing guard rate from 21 to 25 per day. This is 12 in the morning and 12:50 in the afternoon. I believe there's some further discussion on that particular topic by you, Jen. What would your proposal?
So I
on
was
that?
thinking, so our school traffic guard, she's out there, I don't know if you guys ever see her, but she's out there every day. She's super reliable, and she's not just out there for like a half hour. You know, she has to come up here, she has to haul the stuff out, she has to get all the kids safely across, put it all away. And while it might not be like the most difficult job in the whole world, she does have to make herself available in the mornings and in the afternoon, every day that school's in session. So what I would propose is to increase it. Right now, she gets $21 per day, and I would like to change it. Instead of getting $21 per day, I'd like to change it to say $21 per shift, or whatever word would be more appropriate. So $21 every time she.
$42 a day.
Yeah. But I was thinking if we kept it $21 per shift, you know, if we have a crossing guard that misses the afternoon but was there in the morning, or, you know,
Yeah.
that way if it was per shift.
Years ago, we used to do it per shift, it's so much, like $15 per time. I don't know where it got changed to.
It's not really changed. I just the way I worded it. It's 12:50 right now is what the shift is. So they can still, I mean, there's times when they can't work both shifts, so. they-
$12.50 a shift, or that's what you were proposing for it to be? Because I don't think it's that high.
No, 10:50, you're right.
But anyway, she's out there a whole hour. I mean, by the time she drags that thing out, standing in the middle of the highway and stuff like this. I like that idea.
Does anyone else have any thoughts on that?
You said 42 per shift?
No, 21 per shift, so if she's out there both times, it would be 42. I don't know, like, is shift the right word? That's just the word I could think of. So then that we would just need to pretty much change one word, rate per shift.
Do you want me to go on to the second?
If nobody else has anything, Carla?
No, I'm fine with that.
Okay. Okay, yep.
The next thing that I proposed, to try to recruit part-time people, I would like to do away with the 6-month probationary pay. Keep the probationary period for the new part-time employee, but increase the rate from 22 to 27 like the rest of the non-probationary part-time people. So do away with the probationary pay of 22 and just hire them in at 27.
I'm on board with that, that's fine with me.
I agree.
For our salary ordinance, would we keep it to say deputy marshal probationary, but then just change the pay?
I think we do away with the probation.
I think you could scratch it out.
Okay, just take the whole line out.
But in your operating procedures, you have that probationary period outlined of what that is.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
then I'm fine with that.
okay,
And that's a 6-month period, correct?
The last thing that I proposed was increasing the IDAX coordinator from $12.50 to $15 an hour. I think the bi-weekly pay from $62.50 to $75.
and you explained last time kind of what her role was, right?
Yep.
We talked about it. So then, this has rate per monthly, and then it says $12.50, but that's not correct, because she works more than 1 hour.
Right, she works 5 hours a pay period.
So do we just, and it's always the same, right?
Yes, it's always the same.
So change it to bi-weekly and put
Yeah, you can.
75? Or do we leave it hourly?
Either way would work. Calculate that to be the same.
Yeah.
Not to exceed 150.
Yeah, so we would need to change, so the first part to say hourly, and then $15, and then, yeah, not to exceed $150. Is everybody on board with that? Ashley?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Did anyone else have anything else on this? Non-elected employees?
I think instead of giving the stipends to utility superintendent, town marshal, they ought to be reflected in their salary. I think, the rate ought to be raised in their salary rather than just a one-time stipend.
Why? What makes you feel that way? Is there like a benefit to that, or?
I think it's a better reflection of the job they've done this year.
So you're saying keep the 15, but split it up over all the paychecks?
Yeah, so add it to their salary.
Yeah, I think it ought to be, I'd like to see a percentage. I'm not so sure $1,500 is enough. I think, with inflation being what it is and stuff like that, it ought to be more. I think it ought to be a percentage.
What percentage were you?
I hadn't really thought too much about it, but I thought at least 5%.
I think 5% is super high.
I think a lot of towns and stuff are giving 1.7 to 3%. I think that's way too high. And I like stipends because it's like bonuses and stuff, and it doesn't, the next year when you give a percentage, it doesn't, you give it on the base pay and everything. It doesn't just, some jobs, you get that salary so high that if you give a 2%
Yeah.
raise, it just, you can't control it anymore.
You know, Tippecanoe County, I believe it is, you know, give their employees a 5% raise this year.
And what West Side get?
I don't follow the west side, I don't know.
2%?
I don't know.
But I look at what a lot of towns on the listserv pay, and a lot of them, they're recommending 1.7, I think, to 3.1 or so. There was not 4, 5, 6%. And actually, we do have to look at what raises were given a couple of years ago in the past. You just don't look at 1 year.
I don't believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know that there was any raises given last year, was there?
But 2 years ago, there was given a heck of a big raise. So,
Well, that's correct.
so I think you look at your average, and I think trying to average it around, this comes out to what, 3% or something? That's not.
Well, I didn't know we were gonna talk about this, I don't know if I have that information, but
But
it's not 3% for both of them, it was like 2.5 for one and 3.25% for the other. I don't think I have that paper.
I think it's fine for this year, we can reevaluate next year and see if we want to do a raise or if we want to do stipend again.
I think we ought to be keeping up with inflation as much as possible.
I wish my job would keep up with inflation too, but it doesn't always do that.
Actually, I think if you look at our average over the last so many years, we are keeping up with inflation, you know, but we also gotta look at all the costs of the town and the other things that are going up too, and keep things under control, so.
Stan,
I'm fine the way it is.
keep it the $1,500 stipend?
Yep.
All right, I hear you, Ashley, but I'm on board with the stipend as well, and I think that it's a fair amount. Was there anything else? Did you have anything else, Ashley,
No.
for this? Stan? Ron, do you have anything else for this?
No.
Carla?
Okay.
Okay. So just those changes to the probation, wipe out the probationary deputy marshal, change the school traffic guard to shift, and then the IDEX coordinator. So, we'll have that prepared, we can vote on it next week. All right, the 2022 elected official salary ordinance, unfortunately, we weren't able to vote on this at the last meeting, so this will be our first vote on this. Can you remind me, so at the last meeting, I made a motion to waive formal reading, but that wasn't the 5-0 vote, so we couldn't. So at this point, where are we at on this now?
You would need to have it, either you can make the motion again and see if you get 5-0. If you don't, you have to do first reading. And then you'd have to go through the whole process of doing the second reading.
Okay. I move to waive formal reading of ordinance 2021 salary and compensation for elected officials for 2022.
Yes, seconded.
Okay, there's been a motion made by myself and seconded by Stan to waive formal reading of this. Is there any discussion? Okay,
At the last meeting, I brought up the question of insurance benefits for the clerk treasurer, the stipend, the insurance stipend that the clerk treasurer had been paid, and that was removed from this ordinance. You said you had information where we could do that. I didn't think we were allowed to change the benefits and salary of an elected official.
all right, let me read it to you.
what I have, the only thing that I have not done any research on this, so I can do additional research if you would like, if the board would like. But, what I have seen is that Jen did reach out to the State Board of Accounts, and the State Board of Accounts did send her an email which indicated that the stipend was not part of the salary, it was an additional benefit. So it wouldn't be a part of changing the statutory amount that she would be allowed to receive. Again, I have not done research on that, so I give that disclaimer. If the council would like me to do so, I am happy to. It's ultimately your call.
So this is the email that I got from Todd Godwell. Jen?
And this has been recently, this email?
Yep. Jen, during an audit, when examining the compensation paid to employees and officials, including the clerk treasurer, we would consider IC 36532A that provides that payment of a stipend allowed by statute is not considered in the determination of whether an elected town official's compensation has been lowered from the amount paid in the prior year. IC 36472 applies only to cities.
So he said in that email a different statute. The statute that Jen had cited to him was only for cities. He referred to the town statute that says the same thing essentially, that you can't lower the salary. And so per that, what his email said was that was not included. Again, I'm happy to do research on that if you all would like me to. It's ultimately your call.
My contention is that this has been done for political motivation all along.
That's not true at all, actually. She doesn't have the same job that she did before. She forced us to separate these offices. She has nothing to do with the utilities anymore, which was her choice. If you have a job and you switch jobs and you're not doing the same job, you don't get to keep the same pay, right? If you work and you're higher up at a factory, you're in charge of a bunch of people, whatever, and then you say, you know, we're not really into this anymore. Can I be a janitor, assuming that janitors make less than the people in charge of the people? I don't know that, but let's just assume. Then your employer's not gonna say, yeah, go ahead, and then you keep making the same amount of money. You know? There's a lot of things that she's supposed to do that she doesn't do. She doesn't even get our packets ready. She sends the things to Bridget has to print them, Bridget gets our packets ready. So you don't get to keep the same amount of money when you're not doing the same work.
You know, I've been on this board for many years, and I understand that, you know, your motivations and such, and you know, you've acted upon those. She's not here to defend herself. You know, this doesn't need to be a long, drawn-out discussion. I think it's unfair to Michelle. I've stated my beliefs. You know, I do believe this is politically motivated. You know, a lot of the things that you have spoke about, I disagree, and I think there's, you know, those same two sides in every story, and we've seen that play out quite a few times. So you can continue on, you know, with your passing this or voting on it or whatever.
I'd like to add a comment. Michelle wasn't on the discussion at the last meeting, and we didn't go ahead and finalize this, so she did have a say-so, and I think there's a lengthy discussion at that time. And I think, you know, she does do a lot less work and has less responsibilities and everything, and I think if anything's politically motivated, Ashley, I think it's what your comment was, just saying that shows it how you are politically motivated on most of this stuff. So that's my opinion. I make a motion.
I already have a motion.
Okay.
Does anyone else have anything before we vote? Okay, there was a motion made to waive formal reading by myself. It was seconded by Stan. How do you vote, Ashley?
No.
Stan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
Okay, so that was a 4-1 vote, so we cannot waive formal reading. So, can we go through now with first reading?
You can go through with first reading, yes.
And that means somebody actually has to read this? Ashley? Would you like to read it?
It's not mine.
You did not want to waive formal reading.
That's right.
So why did you waive formal reading if
Political.
you didn't want to? All right, I read fast. Here we go. Ordinance 2021 nothing, salary and compensation for elected officials for 2022. Whereas IC 36532 states the town legislative body shall fix the compensation of its own members, the town clerk treasurer, the town marshal, and other town officers and employees. Whereas the town council and the town utility service board wish to establish salaries for the year 2022. Therefore, be it ordained by the town council and the town utility service board that the following salary schedule shall be in full force and effect on January 1st, 2022. The ordinance reflects bi-weekly payroll amounts. Elected officers. Title, Town Councilman, bi-weekly rate $66.68 from the general fund, $66.66 from water, $66.66 from wastewater, for a total of $200 bi-weekly. Council President, bi-weekly pay. They get an additional $11.66 from the general fund, $11.67 from water, and $11.67 from wastewater, for an additional $35 bi-weekly. Area plan meetings for our area plan rep. For each meeting, there will be $85 from the general fund, nothing from water, wastewater, for a total of $85. Our clerk treasurer's bi-weekly pay is $416 from general, $416 from water, and $416 from wastewater. So our clerk treasurer's bi-weekly pay is $1,248. She is paid $32,448. Number one, in addition to the established town councilman's salary, the town council shall be paid additional compensation of $85 per meeting that is attended for area plan meetings plus travel. The town shall pay an additional compensation of $15 per hour for additional meetings that is attended for the benefit of the town or the town utilities, which none of us have ever done. This ordinance is adopted in compliance with the Indiana Code 36-5-3-2, mandating the town legislative body to establish salaries for town officials, officers, and employees. This ordinance shall be in full force and effect on January 1st, 2022, introduced on the first reading on the second day of November 2021. Motion to adopt on first reading made by Town Council Member Blank and seconded by Town Council Member Blank. We have 5 blanks for ayes, 5 blanks for nays, and attested a blank for Michelle Freeberg, Clerk Treasurer, to sign. Okay. So I would move to adopt on first reading ordinance 2021- whatever, salary and compensation for elected officials for 2022.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion made by myself and seconded by Carla. Is there any discussion before we vote? Okay, how do you vote, Ashley?
No.
Stan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
And I vote yes. So that's a 4-1 vote. Does that need to be unanimous as well, to adopt on first reading?
Does it need to be what?
Like 5-0 vote
I
to
don't,
adopt on first reading.
I don't think it has to be. I can double check, I don't know offhand. I did pull the statute though,
Oh.
that was being referred to.
Okay.
And it specifically states that for purposes of determining an increase or decrease in compensation of an elected town officer, the term does not include any of the following: payment of an insurance premium, payments in recognition of longevity, professional certifications, or educational advancements that are separately identified on a salary ordinance or resolution, payment of a stipend or per diem allowed by statute, a payment of authorized under subsection D. Subsection D talks about additional compensation for services performed for the town that are not governmental in nature and are connected. But I do believe that pursuant to state statutes, since this is a separately identified stipend that is allowed by statute, it would qualify as non-compensation.
Okay. I would move to adopt ordinance 2021- whatever the number will be, salary and compensation for elected officials for 2022.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion made by myself and seconded by Carla to adopt this ordinance. Is there any further discussion? How do you vote, Ashley?
No.
Stan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
And I vote yes, that passes 4-1. And if for some reason it did need to be a 5-0 vote to adopt on first reading, we can adopt it at our next meeting. All right. The last thing on the agenda is eminent domain. I'm hopeful that this is not something that is going to turn into anything, and Ashley and I had a discussion about this earlier. this is just, I just want the okay from the council for myself or Ron to talk to somebody about eminent domain and what we might be facing.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is that land used for any specific purpose, or is it just the land that the town owns?
Right, I just own it right now.
There's nothing, there's no like park or anything on it, it's
No.
just
No,
land?
farmer farms
Or
it
underneath,
Oh,
and pays us for it.
water and
Wastewater.
Or underneath it?
there's no sewer in that county portion, is there? There
Okay.
is a little bit of sewer.
Okay. I just, that was something, I just wanted.
and I don't know if you heard Ron, but I guess it is used because a farmer farms it and then
Right.
pays us, so I guess it's used.
For that purpose.
Yeah.
There are some case law, without getting into the weeds, there is some case law that states that if it's used for a public purpose, prior public purpose, it can't be taken with eminent domain. The question would become whether or not it would qualify under a prior public purpose. That I haven't dug into because I don't know, I didn't know what it was used for. So, for what that's worth.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that that's not the whole of the investigation, that's just
Sure.
a couple of pieces of information for your knowledge.
By you and Ron talking to somebody, you know, who is the somebody you're referring to?
I don't have somebody.
Somebody that doesn't charge for information, or somebody that charges $500 an hour for information? What's your thoughts?
Well, I don't think I'm gonna be able to find somebody that doesn't charge for information.
Why would we pay for information that may not ever be necessary? I mean.
Well, because I'm trying to stay ahead of what the county might do.
Well, I mean, I think we would have time to react.
I think they've proven that we won't.
They've gone against everything we wanted, Ashley. They don't do what we want. They threw out the land use plan that we had, that every board in the past went up on, and they're taking our land, and they're gonna try to in the future, and they won't commit with a definite answer when Jan and us go down there. So I think it's imperative that we find out what our rights are and look into this and get an answer.
What land have they taken of ours?
They changed the zoning and everything, what our land use was. They haven't stolen our land yet, Ashley, but
The land
there's a
that was
good chance that
rezoned is
they
in the
might.
county. Now, I understand that you didn't,
But it was in our land use plan, Ashley.
We're looking at our land in our town and in our county and what we can do with it and what our rights are, so that the next time we go down there and they have meetings that they don't even notify the town. The redevelopment meetings, the other ones we aren't even notified a lot of times on, we have to find out accidentally, and then they go against, you were the one that signed your signature along with the whole board on how we wanted to rezone up there. We were against the rezoning of the industrial, and they threw that out. The town sent letters, they threw it out against our wishes. So I think there's a certain group of people, and you know who it is, that adamantly wants to use that land for warehouses and other uses of what we want to. So we want to know what our rights
I
are
don't
with
know
our
what you're
land.
referencing, a group of people that.
Well, here, let's just think about this. It's our land currently. I think knowledge is power. And I think the more knowledge we have about what rights we have, what rights we don't have, the more in the driver's seat we could be. And I think without finding out that information, we would be at a detriment. So better to find out and not need it than to be faced down the road with, holy cow, now what do we do?
I will say there is a process if they were to take land via eminent domain that they would have to follow, so they wouldn't be able to just rip the rug
Correct.
completely.
But let's understand what we
Be
have.
proactive.
It doesn't happen overnight. I mean, the eminent domain is
Agreed.
quite
I mean,
It could be a lengthy
there
process.
is a process to do it now, whether
And
or
nobody's
not,
disputing that, I'm just saying,
whether or not,
let's find out information.
I
There's a lot
agree
of
with
information
Carl.
on the internet about eminent domain, knock yourself out
There's a lot of
reading.
stuff on Wikipedia that doesn't make it all true. You can't believe everything just because it's on the internet.
Well, there's credible sources on the internet to get information about eminent domain in the state of Indiana.
I will say it is a little bit tricky, playing devil's advocate. It is a little bit tricky to get the information as to whether or not one municipality can take the land of another. That's a little bit more complex than just your general eminent domain, but I would agree with you that it's not gonna happen overnight. So, that's my 2 cents.
I think we need to be very prepared because Ashley, you work against us at every meeting downtown. You've already told them to take the land and use it for something we don't want to use it for. I just heard you say that at the meeting downtown,
I
so.
absolutely want to be
Can
on
I
record.
finish speaking, Ashley, please? I
Hold
don't
on,
interrupt
Ashley. You can
you.
talk after him.
So I think it's absolutely critical with this land grab out here and use that's ruining the front end of our town, that we know exactly what we're doing and what our rights are, and we're proactive in all this. I mean, anybody with any sense would want to be proactive and defend their town. And remember, the old board and the Yost and the people and the area plan committees over 35 years all wanted that mixed use land, and it was taken away from us and thrown out in one single year. Okay, so I think we need to know what our rights are.
I absolutely think that Yost Road should extend from State Road 38 to Haggerty. And I said so in that redevelopment commission meeting. You know, nobody has threatened the town with eminent domain. You know, for us to spend money on lawyers, which I think is what you're talking about, because maybe part of that's gonna be pretty specialized as far as two government units. I think you're talking about attorneys, and I think it's unnecessary to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars per hour for you two to entertain yourself on something that may or may not happen, and certainly has not happened yet. You know, if and when, should the time come, then yes, you know, that would be the time for education. But
Should
now,
the time come, it's too late.
But
no, it's not.
It could
It doesn't happen in a day's time, okay? You know, there's a notification process, there's a process, please correct me if I'm wrong. You know, it's not something where you're gonna miss a meeting if somebody's trying to acquire land through eminent domain from you. You're gonna be notified that they're trying to do that, so,
so you think we're wasting money?
yes, I do.
Did you waste money when you paid $12,000 for a phony engineering study to run roads through people's land? You did the $12,000.
You did
a
that.
4-to-1 vote on that.
You had a 4-to-1 vote. You controlled them people. They were just your puppets, and you know
But
it.
Ashley, whether it's
How many 3-to-2 votes and?
Ashley, you still voted for it to spend that $12,000. You also voted to go ahead and pay the state the $27,000 that we ended up moving our lines down there. And I made a phone call and say that 27 has turned into what, 74,000 now, 76,000 that the state is paying, that this town doesn't have to pay. So why don't you take some of that 76,000 and we be proactive and protect ourselves.
So let's
out
all
there.
turn around and look at the $10,000 wall behind us.
Oh,
Why?
And
Why?
a $1,000 window and everything
You know
else.
why? Because
So,
of your friend there that.
The eminent
couldn't-
domain, you know, I think, you know, hey, you know, you guys, you know, Ron and his posse here, you know, you guys got the votes, you'll vote for it, and you'll pay $200 to $500 per hour to entertain yourselves.
Like you
talking-
did on
talking
the
about
last
eminent
board,
domain.
like you did on the last.
Please.
would it make you more comfortable if there was a cap on the amount we're spending on this right now, Ashley?
I'm sorry.
Would it make you more comfortable if there was a cap on the amount that we're spending to look into this at this time?
Yes, $50.
You could also look into the process of eminent domain just in general, to know what steps would be taken in order for land to be taken, so you know whether or not you have time to act, or if you would not have time to act. You could do that relatively inexpensively, then you would know whether or not you would need to do further research at a later date, or if you need to do the research immediately. And that would be one way to kind of meet both goals and find out what the process is, so you know whether or not you need to do the research now, and then after you find out the process, you can make an informed decision as to whether it would be a fruitful use of your funds. And that would be relatively inexpensive.
Unfortunately, I feel like what Carla was saying, we need to be ahead of the game, not, well, yeah, this is probably something we should know, let's hurry and find out about it. I have gone to those meetings and I've asked them, are you going to come into the town, or where, what are you doing? And they won't give me a straight answer to say, yeah, we're not gonna come through the town. So, I just feel like it's on the horizon, hopefully it's not, but I do feel like this is a wise use of money to protect the town, because like Carla was, I think, saying, the county has already shown us that, what we have to say and what we want in our town, around our town, it's not really a priority for them, So,
I agree with you, Jim.
what do you guys think is a fair amount to spend at this time?
Let's start off with $1,000.
Okay. I would move to approve myself and Ron to speak to a eminent domain attorney with a cap of $1,000 on it about the area up by, the land that Dayton owns up there.
I second it.
Okay, there's been a motion made by myself and seconded by Stan to allow myself and Ron to contact an eminent domain attorney to find out some information, up to $1,000. Is there any further discussion before we vote?
Why can't that attorney address all the town board members so that we all hear the information?
You want him to come to a meeting?
And you got $1,000, maybe he can FaceTime you and not charge you the travel expenses or whatever. But, to get everybody on this same page, so we're all hearing the same information.
So you just went from wanting to spend nothing,
If,
now we're gonna spend more, instead of having two people
well, no, you
get the
did.
information.
We're just gonna start the research, right, and looking into what's available.
Right,
there.
we're not doing anything about it.
I think it would be
We're not
good to-
hiring a lawyer like you did with the church and spend $10,000 to sue the
No,
church.
we're
We're
not.
not gonna do that. We're gonna do this
I
a
don't think
small
the town
step,
board did
a
that
small
either.
step at a time, Ashley.
I didn't think
Okay.
that board did that either, but.
Well, they
you know,
should
I-
have.
You know, I think, why you're getting this information from, it sounds like you're going to hire a professional that specializes in this. I think it would be incumbent, I think all the board members, should hear that information.
You could request them to write a memo, and then the memo could be
Yeah,
the
that's-
entire town.
That's good.
That would save you a little bit of money if they could do that in the office.
Okay.
That way we all have
That's
it.
good idea, Ashley. Thanks, Alicia. Okay, is there any further discussion? Okay, how do you vote, Ashley?
No,
Stan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
And I vote yes, so that passes 4-1. Okay, and I do want to say before we adjourn the meeting that our regular November meeting had to be rescheduled, so it was scheduled for November 8th at 7 p.m. It's now moved to November 10th, that's the Wednesday right after that at 7 p.m. All right, having no further business, this meeting's adjourned.